Bruchim Haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Kuf Nun Gimel Amud Aleph, 6 lines from the bottom. We learned previously that a person who is traveling and still has his money pouch on his person can go ahead and give that money pouch, that keys, to a Gentile. The Chacham were especially makel over here because if they would not allow him to do so, he may carry the money pouch Daled Amos in the Rishus Harabim, whereby he be over the Isser of Havara and Isser D'Oraisa. So they prefer that he give it to a Gentile. Granted, normally there's a Isser D'Rabban of Amira La'akum, but over here they let up that Isser, and they said over here there's a special Kula Heter. Says the Gemara, quoting our Mishnah, Ein Imoy Nachri, but if there is no Gentile, no Nachri with him, then it states that he shall give it then on top of the donkey, placed on top of the donkey to carry it for him. Says the Gemara, the only reason is because there's no Nachri together with him. But if there would be a Nachri, then L'Nachri Yahivlei, it would be preferable to give it to the Nachri instead of putting it on the back of the animal. Ask the Gemara, my taimo, why is that preferable? Answers the Gemara, Chamor ato mitzuva al shviv v'sosoi. Nachri ato mitzuva al shviv sosoi. When it comes to an animal, a donkey, so you are mitzuva. That means to say that you cannot, just like you cannot do malacha, your animal cannot do malacha on your behalf. Whereby you cannot place a load on the animal to carry in the Rishus Harabim for you. And therefore, if one does do that, that would be a malacha, that would be an Isser D'Oraisa. Whereas when it comes to the Nachri, there's no such prohibition D'Oraisa, and therefore it's preferable to give to the Nachri the kis. Chamor v'cheresh shoyte v'koton. If you have a donkey, a cheresh, a deaf mute, somebody who was born deaf mute, that means to say that the person, he has a light type of da'as because he never was able to communicate. A shoyte, somebody who's an imbecile, or a koton. So what is then the preference here? Says the Gemara, achamor monach lei. You would then put it onto the chamor, lecheresh shotem v'koton lo yahiv lei, and not give it to the cheresh shotem v'koton. My taima, what is the reason? Hani adam hai lav adam. Because these, the cheresh shotem v'koton, is a person, and thereby you may then lead to give it to a person. You may make a mistake. Whereas the donkey, you'll never make such a mistake. Cheresh, shoite, v'shoite, if you have a choice between giving it to a cheresh or giving it to the shoite, you would give it to the shoite because again, the cheresh, he has more das, only it's a light type of das because again, he never communicated since he was born a deaf mute. Whereas the shoite, he's an imbecile and he's lacking even more das. Shoite v'koton, if you have the difference between a shoite and a koton, here you say it's preferable to give it to the shoite. Iboilu, asked the Gemara, what about a cheresh v'koton? What would be the din? Would it be preferable to give it to the cheresh, the deaf mute, or to give it to the koton? Aliba de Rabbi Eliezer lo tiboilach. Right, the question is never asked according to Rabbi Eliezer. Why? Because the Tanya, it states in the following brayso, Rabbi Yitzchok Omar Mishum Rabbi Eliezer, Trumas cheresh, if a cheresh were to take truma, loy teitzei lechulin mibnei shehu sofik. Here Rabbi Eliezer says, if the cheresh, the deaf mute, would then be mafrish truma, then it would have to be taken again. It would be a state of sofik, because we don't know if it was a valid hafrash's truma or not. And therefore we machmir, both saying that the non-Kohen cannot eat it because maybe it's truma, and also the Kohen cannot have it because maybe it wasn't officially taken out truma. And therefore we see Rabbi Eliezer says it's a safek only in regards to the cheresh. But there's a tzad to say that it's valid. And therefore it would be preferable to give to the koton. Kiti boilach, who would we be asking the question to, whether it's preferable to give the cheresh or the kis to the koton? Aliba de Rabbanon, according to Rabbanon, on top of Kufn and Gimel Amud Beis. This nan states in the Mishnah, Chamisha lo yitroimu, there are 5 that shall not take truma. V'im tarmu, if b'di'ev they did take truma, ein trumas and truma, even b'di'ev their truma is not valid. Ve'elu hein, these are them. Cheresh, a deaf mute. Shoite, an imbecile. V'katan. The fourth one, v'hatarim eshe'eno shelo, somebody who takes truma without being a shaliach on somebody else's produce. V'nachi shetarim eshel Yisrael afi b'reshusay, or a Gentile who takes on behalf of a Yisrael. All five of these cases, the truma is not truma. So we see from here, both the cheresh as well as the katan is put together. So the chachamim say that these are vadai invalid. Whereby, when it comes to the keys on Shabbos, is it preferable to give the keys to the katan or to the cheresh? Ein truma so truma, in regards to the truma, there's not going to be a truma even b'di'evet. So what's the din over here? Lecheresh yahivle, the katan asi lechal das. Is it better to give to the cheresh because the katan will become somebody who does have das, and therefore it's more likely that you'll come to make a mistake and then give it to a regular person in the future? Or it's preferable to give to the katan because the cheresh asi lechluva begadol. Because the cheresh, you could mistakenly give it to a gadol who is a pikeach. In other words, that was first out that we said a cheresh that you'll give it to, and the katan you should not, because the katan he will become a gadol. Here we're saying on the second side that it's true that if you give it to the cheresh, by giving to the cheresh, it might be a problem because he might then make a mistake by giving to a pikeach. So therefore, who is it better to then give it to? Answers the Gemara, it's best to give it to the cheresh, to the deaf mute. That's one answer. It's preferable to give it to the katan. So we have two different lashonos, and you have a situation when you have a money pouch, and in our situation, you haven't gotten to your destination, you have a cheresh, and you also have a katan. Which one do you give it to? Machlekes. Two different lashonos. Says the Gemara weiter, Ein shon loy nachri. A person does not have a nachri present, v'loy chamor, or a donkey. V'loy cheresh, not a deaf mute, v'loy shoite, not the imbecile, v'loy katan. What should he do? None of these options that we have mentioned until now is available. Omar Rabbi Yitzchok, oid acheres haisa, v'lo ratzu chachamim legaloisa. There's another option, but the chacham did not want to reveal it. My oid acheres haisa. What is this additional option that he can then utilize? Molichoi pachos midalad amos. He can carry it less than dalad amos. Midi araisa, the iser havara is dalad amos v'shuzaram. And less than dalad amos is no iser deraisa. And therefore, if he would then take it, walk, for example, 2 amos, stop, walk again, 2 amos, stop, then if he continues to do that until he gets to his destination, he'll only be over in Issa de Rabbanan, whereby the Rabbanan in such a case would be Mekil, because they would not want him to then come to carry Dalit Amos Mishus Harabim. Ask the Gemara, if this is such an option, why didn't the Chachamim want to then reveal it? Answers the Gemara, Mishum Kavoid Elokim Haster Dovar. Because of the glory of Hashem, Kavod Shamayim, they wanted to keep it hidden. The rest of the pasuk goes on to say, Ukavod Malachim Chakor Dovar. In regard to the glory, the kavod of Malachim, then one should definitely investigate. V'hocha asked the Gemara, but my kavod Elokim Ika. What is the kavod Elokim that we're talking about? That they're mastir this halacha. We don't want it to be revealed. V'dilma asi lasui dal amas b'reshus. Answers the Gemara, because a person might come mistakenly, absent-mindedly, carry dal amas b'reshus harabim. If he would be having the heter to then go less than dal amos, pachos mi dal amos, maybe in the midst of him doing that, he may go ahead and accidentally continue to walk more than 2 amos or 3 amos and walk entire Dalit amos. The Chum said rather keep it hidden, such a heter, but without any other option, no nachri, no cheresh, no sheret hotet, no katan, and no donkey, then this is the option that he should utilize. Says the Gemara Vayter Tanya, we have the following brayso. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, boi bayoim godshu saw. The same day, this is the enactment that we just mentioned, that we said you should use this option, if no other option existed, walking pachos medalet amos, this was a geder that was actually one of the Yud Ches Gezeros that were made in the edict of Hananiah ben Chizkiah that we had mentioned in the first parak. There, on a certain day, when the Talmidim of Shammai and Hillel came, they enacted several enactments, and amongst them was this enactment that we're talking about now. So here, there's two different statements, says the Brisa. Tanya, Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Boi Bayom, on that day, when they enacted these 18 enactments, God Shu saw, the amount of saw was heaped up. Instead of being to a limitation of the kli that it's in a saw, it was heaped up to be much more than the saw. Rabbi Yoshua Omer, Boi Bayom, Machku saw. On that day, the saw was leveled, so it was just limited to the kli that was held into. In other words, according to Rabbi Eliezer, they enacted these enactments of all of these gezeros, all of these different fences around the araisas were successful in order to then keep the people from them being over isure deraisa. But Rabbi Yeshua says the opposite, that it was too much, and therefore the people could not be maintaining these guidelines, these fences around the deraisa, and they came to even be over isur deraisa, and therefore was likened to somebody who leveled the saw and only limited to the kli that it's holding on to. The Gemara goes on to say the following mashalim. Tanya, bring the brisa mashal the Rabbi Eliezer, lama adava doime lekupa meleya kishuin udiluin adam nosein lesoich chardal v'him mechazka. According to Rabbi Eliezer, who said it was heaped up. So the mashal is, if a person has indeed a box that's filled with gourds and different types of kishuin, so if he puts in some mustard, so it'll just go in between the gourds, and therefore there won't be any problem. It'll be machzik everything. But according to Rabbi Yoshua, is a different mashal. Mashal to Rabbi Yoshua, l'ma'adav doime, la'areva maleya dvash. When you have a basket filled with honey, noisin l'seich rimonim ve'egoizim v'hu mekia. If you put in pomegranates and nuts, what's going to happen? It's going to then cause the dvash to then spill out. That's exactly what happened over here. When they enacted too many enactments, it then caused a spilling out of what could have been a little bit more than the actual kli of a saw. Now it had to be then leveled out just to the limitation of the kli itself. Omar Mar said the following statement: Ein imoy nachri menicha lachamor. A person should not, who has a nachri with him, should not put the keys, the money pouch, on the donkey. Again, we said that when he has a donkey or a nachri, he puts it on the nachri. It's only if he doesn't have a nachri, then he can put the money pouch on the back of the donkey. Vahaloi asked the Gemara, how can he put it on the back of the donkey? Granted, there's no nachri, but how can he do that? Vahalo mechamer. He's doing a malacha, causing the animal to do a malacha. That means that he's basically causing the animal to carry on his behalf. The rest of the passage goes on to say, Ato uvincho ubitecha avduch v'amoscha ve'ehem tercha. That means not only shall you desist from doing malacha, your animal should also desist from doing malacha. So therefore there's a prohibition from allowing your animal to go ahead and do malacha on your behalf. In this case, putting a load on the animal and having it be carrying it in the Rishus HaRabim. No, we're talking about over here when the animal was already en route. That means it was already walking, and you placed the keys on the animal's back. In other words, here the animal does not do a full malacha because it didn't do a akira. And in order to then be over in Isser of Havara and Rishus HaRabim, it has to be that there is a akira and hanacha. So since you placed it on the animal's back while the animal was in stride, therefore it wasn't doing a full malacha, and it's not going to be an Isser Deraisa Mechamer. But it's not possible that the animal will not stop to then urinate or make glolim. And then you'll have the problem of hakira anocha. And therefore, how can he place the object on the animal's back again? Hadrakusha leduchte. It's mechamer. It's nisir deraisa. Answers the Gemara, kishehi mahaleches menicha aleh kishehi homedes noit lehemena. When the animal is traveling, is walking, that's when he places it. But when it stops, then he takes it off the animal again. So there's never a nakira and a hanacha together. Ask the Gemara, if this is the way that is being done with the chamor, then afilu chaver nami, do the same thing with one's friend. Give your friend the object, and then he will then only do, for example, a hanocha, not nakira. But Rapapa says the following: no, that's not possible because when a person does the entire malach himself, he would be chayiv chatos. When he does it together with his friend, Potter aval aser, then it's shnaim she'asua. That means that you're doing a akira and he's doing the hanacha. That's an isid rabbanan. That there they were not makil in such a situation, even by a kis, that two people can do a malacha together. Kol shechaveiro potter aval aser bechamor mutar lechatchila. And when that would be a situation, when the chamor does it, it's mutar lechatchila, and that's why it's not possible for your friend to do it together with you, and therefore you put it on the animal's back when it's mid-stride. Omer Rav Ada bar Abba, says the Gemara weiter, if he has a bundle that is on his shoulders, which has the keys inside of it, then he can ratz tachtel ad shemagia lebeisel. He can run to his destination. Meaning to say, here, since he's in route, he never did an akira, and therefore, when he gets to the destination, he'll then go ahead and put it down. So it will be without an akira and hanacha. It won't be a malacha deraisa. And here too, then the chum would be makil in the case of a keys, because they would not want a person to carry it. Dalad amas rishus harabim. And the Gemara now is medayik davka ratz. This option is only if he were to run to his destination. Aval kali loy. But if he would walk slowly, not. My time, what's the difference? Why, when he walks slowly, not? Hooray, he can walk slowly and get to his destination without making the akira. Answers the Gemara, kivin de lesle hekera osi de ma'avid akira nacha. Because if he walks slowly, there's no heker. And therefore, he's liable to then make a hanocha and akira together. Whereas if he's running, he'll be reminded that he's going to then get to his destination as not to go ahead and stop, whereby he won't make another akira and hanacha. Ask the Gemara, but sof, ki mota lebeise, ieshter lokoi purto. It's not possible when he gets to his destination, before he enters his home, that he's not going to stop for a moment before he walks into the door. The and whereby he'll then enter from the Rishus Rabim and he'll do a hachnasa to the Rishus HaYochid. And that's an Issa Deraisa. Then you'll have the Akira from the Rishus HaRabim, and they'll have the Hanach and the Rishus HaYochid. Answers the Gemara, the Zorik Le Kol Achayad. When he enters the Rishus HaYochid, his home, he'll throw back the Chavila, and that'll be considered to be a Hanacha that is a Shinui, whereby it's not going to be an Issa Deraisa of Hachnasa, since he did it Kol Achar Yad.